The Tar Heels have portal work to get done. Top end talent is flying off the shelf. And I got to tell you, people are starting to get pretty nervous.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Monday, April 22nd, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch, and I want to give a special shout out to all you everydayers out there, as well as the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job right now at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Coming up on the show today, there was a ton of Carolina action this weekend in all the various fields of play. Spring football game wrapped up the spring football schedule. We'll look at that a little bit. And then all sorts of stuff, including an ACC Championship one on Sunday. I want to take an updated look at the roster following Harrison Ingram's declaration for the NBA draft, as well as a hypothetical look ahead as to what the roster could look like. But before we get to all of that, I want to help set up that roster looking by taking a lay of the land, taking a survey of where things stand coming out of the weekend, because there's so much movement that has happened, obviously, and hopefully you joined us on Saturday for our live reaction to Harrison Ingram's announcement of leaving for the NBA. But even outside of that, there's just been a ton of action around the nation. And so I want to get us caught up on where we are at, because I know, because a lot of you have reached out, and I get it, man. A lot of you are stressed out. A lot of you are seeing the potential pool of players dwindling that Carolina is looking at various positions. And the temperature's starting to rise a little bit, and everyone's getting a little uncomfortable. And it's this weird balance, because here's where I want to put us, hopefully at a little bit of peace. It just takes one yes here and one yes there. It's a reminder. I said it on Monday's episode of Locked On College Basketball. I kind of compare it to a baseball player. The very best baseball players in the world hit 300, meaning they fail 70% of the time, and yet we reward them with hundreds of millions of dollars. Point being, it's a similar thing here where you don't have to hit on every single person you go after, but you're casting a lot of nets to see if you can just catch one fish here or there. Because let's be honest, a basketball team, you need your 5 starters, and really you just need 3 solid depth guys. You'd like to have a couple more, but 8 is a great college basketball rotation. So that's what Carolina is looking for. Doesn't have to be a ton of yeses, just need a couple here or there. So let's look at some of those potential yeses. And I want to start in the front court at the center position, where Carolina has seemingly cast the most, at least public that we know of, the most lines, to stay with that fishing analogy. Some guys we already know are off the table. Maxime Reynaud decided to stay at Stanford. Umar Ballo transferred from Arizona to Indiana, and Aaron Bradshaw went from Kentucky to Ohio State. So heading into the weekend, there were kind of 3 guys still on the board, 2 in the Armando Bacot mold, and 1 more of, a bigger guy, a stretch guy that can get outside a little bit more. That was Danny Wolf from Yale. Well, he committed on Saturday, announced that he was committing to Michigan. So Wolf is off the table. And so now you're down to the bigger, bulky options of Tennessee's Jonas Aidoo and Rutgers apostrophe Cliff Omoruyi. And you may be aware, or maybe you weren't, that Adou was on a visit to Baylor this weekend. He got a crystal ball prediction there from Travis Branham. For those of you who are unaware, a crystal ball is just 247 Sports way of looking at, hey, I'm putting in a prediction that this player is going to go to this place. For a long time, it was just high school recruiting, but obviously now in this day and age, we see that a lot with transfer portal recruiting as well. So that's where things are kind of at with Aidoo. On Sunday night, Jeff Goodman reported that there are 4 schools heavily in the mix still for Aidoo. So it's not a done deal yet. And those 4 schools are Baylor, North Carolina, and then also Arkansas and Alabama. So that's kind of where things stand with Aidoo right now. We come out of the weekend with no commitment, but it does have a feeling as though Baylor's the front runner, just based on all the news and rumors we heard this weekend. So we wait to see what goes on there. Will the Tar Heels get a visit? Will Arkansas or Alabama get a visit? We don't know as of this time. The other one is Cliff Omoruyi, who was at Georgetown this weekend. And interestingly, I heard some rumblings this weekend that Georgetown was maybe strongly in the mix for FAU transfer Vlad Golden, who's the big that if you kept tabs on their Final Four run last year or them this season in the aftermath of that, you probably remember Vlad Golden. So who is also out there. To my knowledge, Carolina hasn't made contact with Golden. And so that's what that is. So I don't think Georgetown would land Omoruyi. And so to me, it kind of sounds like, at least at this point, of those 12 schools that he listed last week, it's ultimately kind of seeming like the Tar Heels and Alabama are the front runners. That's the tea leaves I'm reading right now. So that's where things are at with the center position. I think it's Omoruyi or Aidoo, and it's anyone's guess. If I had to say right now, I have been saying that I would favor Omoruyi over Aidoo, but either one would be great. And I would say at this point, it feels to me, again, just based on the tea leaf reading, that we might be a little better suited, a little better positioned to land Omoruyi. But this can literally change by the hour, folks. So just hold that in balance, that we're looking at those 2 guys right now. Let's move to the small forward position, the 3, where Carolina started Cormac Ryan last year. Obviously, he's out of eligibility, and so the Tar Heels are looking to fill that role and trying to think about, do we maybe have that guy on the roster already, either in terms of returners or incoming high school talent? Seemingly not, because Carolina has been in hot pursuit of Belmont transfer Cade Tyson, the brother of former Clemson Tiger Hunter Tyson. I've been on record this whole offseason saying I'm all in on Cade Tyson. I think he would be a great fit at the 3. I think he would be a great replacement for Cormac Ryan. He's got even more positional size. On Friday, Travis Branham, again from 247 Sports, put in a crystal ball for Carolina for Cade Tyson. That was on Friday night, and I've waited until late Sunday to record this episode just in case news dropped. And as of late Sunday night, there's still no announcement through the weekend. And you could read into that. I would encourage you to not. I think people would often freak out and say, well, I expected an announcement Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is. There's a multitude of reasons you might not have heard anything yet, whether it's on the very negative side that he's not going to come to Carolina, or on the very positive side that there's just some I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed and that kind of stuff. So don't read anything into that right now. And I've seen, again, me all in, I've seen some portions of the Carolina fan base kind of bag on Cade Tyson. Hey, can he transfer up from Belmont? Yes, is the answer to that. I saw somewhere, I don't even remember who or where it was, say, this is just basically Justin Pierce 2.0. Respectfully, not even close. Cade Tyson, whole different player, whole different capability and size. Saw someone put him on the bench behind, I don't even remember who. Again, respectfully, no. Cade Tyson is your starting 3 if he comes in. It's just that's where it is and what it is. This dude is legit. This is your big time small forward shooter. This is Cam Johnson 2.0, similar thing, 2 years of eligibility. I feel really, really good about Cade Tyson. Now, of course, as strongly as I say that, watch, something's going to happen and he's in this season-long shooting slump, whatever. But I really, really, really think Carolina will be in good shape with Cade Tyson at the 3. And you might recall on Friday's episode, we talked about Andrei Stojakovic, Page's son, the Stanford transfer, who Carolina has also had conversations with and is talking to. I did get confirmation from a source on Saturday that Stojakovic, whereas Carolina, for example, had said on Friday that they're in on Adou Thiero kind of regardless of the roster makeup, Stojakovic, if Tyson doesn't come to Carolina, Stojakovic will be a thing. If Tyson does come to Carolina, I don't think Stojakovic will carry on. It seems like that's more Cade Tyson insurance. So just keep that where it is. So the other thing that has been popping up for a little bit now is rumors of Seth Trimble coming back out of the portal and staying at North Carolina. Those rumors have been flying around for a while, and while there is no confirmed anything, there is no, yes, I'm back, just the rumors are getting strong enough where I'm ready to say something about it now, to where it's like, there's enough smoke here where it's not just some rando saying it in a hopeful way. There is something to this that I have no confirmed information on yet, and so I don't want to say any more than that. It was tweeted out by Xavier Ricks, who's a guy that's been hitting on several things this transfer portal season. And so that's just another part of that conversation. So do with it what you will. But again, I don't want to speculate or go in anymore on the possibility of Seth being back yet. I just want to say that it's out there and it seems like there's enough smoke where there's something to it. Now, what I want to do is forecast ahead. We already talked about Harrison Ingram, but I want to talk about the impact and ramifications of that, kind of project ahead what the roster could be if Carolina is able to land some of these transfer portal targets. So we'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about LinkedIn, when you're hiring for small business, you want to find the quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs, which has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Thankfully, LinkedIn isn't just some other job board. They help you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't even actively looking for a job, but might be open to that perfect role if presented. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong spot. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Harrison Ingram's declaration for the NBA draft was the big news of the weekend. As I said, we've already talked about that in a live reaction show on Saturday. I would encourage you to go listen to or watch that for a more full discussion of everything that means both for Harrison and what it means for us as Carolina fans, and then also what it means for next year's roster. But I do want to say a couple things just in a shorter version. I, like probably all of you, am very bummed about Harrison leaving. He has really ingratiated himself to the Carolina fan base and family in this 1 year that he's spent in Chapel Hill. Just from the person he is to the ball player that he is to everything he brings to the table. Just bummer to see him go. Would have loved to have had another year with him in Carolina blue. But he is a Tar Heel. We say that to him, and he said it as part of his statement. And so you love that. And to that point, I am elated for this young man who's getting to pursue the dream of his lifetime. And that's what this is all about ultimately. And to that point, this is a great recruiting tool for Carolina. Hey, you didn't do what you hoped to do at Stanford? Come to Chapel Hill. We'll get you to the league. Love that. Now, what it more means, and we didn't talk about this on Saturday, is that Harrison's leaving makes RJ Davis's decision all the more critical and all the more crucial. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see the scholarship availability chart, my thing that I always post. For those of you who aren't watching, you can find that on my Twitter feed and pull it up if you want to look at it in real time with us. But the way things stand right now with Harrison out, there are 8 of the scholarships accounted for and 5 open. Right now, there are no fourth-year seniors because those guys are out, the last of which was Harrison Ingram. There's a junior, 2 sophomores, and 3 incoming freshmen, and then 2 guys, RJ Davis and Jalen Withers, who would be taking advantage of the 5th-year COVID eligibility, which, by the way, this is the last class that has that COVID eligibility. So like the Jalen Washington class, or the Harrison Ingram class, I guess I should say, in lower, does not have that. But if RJ leaves, you are down to just 1 remaining of last year's starters, Elliot, Cadeau. Because again, Armando Bacot, Cormac Ryan, they were out of eligibility. Now Harrison, it could have been 3 of your 5 starters back and an encouraging 3 out of 5, Elliot, Cadeau, RJ Davis, and Harrison Ingram. Now Harrison Ingram's gone and you still got 2 out of your 5 starters and you feel like you can build around that. But if you get down to just 1, it's not near the continuity you would hope for. Even in a transfer portal era, you would still think you could at least have 2, maybe 3 of your starters. And that's what Carolina was looking at before Saturday, is 3 starters coming back. And that's not the case. So I say that to say, I hate to put more pressure on it, but it does make the RJ Davis decision that much more important for us to keep our tabs on. Now, in terms of, okay, so what does Carolina do at the power forward position at the 4? To me, Adou Thiero, the Kentucky transfer, becomes the next man in line for that. He announced over the weekend that he's got a Final 5 of North Carolina, Pittsburgh, also Arkansas and Kentucky. Makes a lot of sense there. Staying at Kentucky or following Coach Cal to Arkansas. And then also the possibility of going to Indiana. That's his other school. The Hoosiers have been landing dudes left and right, so we'll see if they're even trying to get more or not. Sounds like coming out of the weekend that it's essentially down to Pittsburgh, which would be back close to home for Thiero, or North Carolina. And from rumblings and rumors that I've heard with Harrison Ingram out the door, it definitely made Carolina a more attractive landing spot. I know several people have said, Thiero's not a 4, he's a 3. Well, Harrison Ingram wasn't recruited to North Carolina as a 4. He was recruited as a 3. And look what he did last year. So Thiero is seeing that role and saying, boy, there's a lot I could do there. He's not the exact same player Harrison Ingram is. There's things that Harrison Ingram could probably do a little better than Thiero, but there are definitely things that Thiero does better than Harrison Ingram. And so you got some trade-offs there. And then if you're the staff and you land Thiero, you're just looking at, okay, so how can we tweak some of those pieces to go together? So that is a critical spot for me as well. As you were already looking at the 3 and the 5 is critical. Now the 4, the power forward position, gets into that same lane. So for me, as I look at it, really, really need to land Cade Tyson, Adou Thiero, and I'll just say for now, Cliff Omoruyi. I would be fine flopping that out for Jonas Aidoo if that was the case. But here's the thing. That's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure to go 3 for 3 on that. It just is. It's tough. Going to be tough to do that. Now, and the idea of getting Seth Trimble back too, that factors in and would be huge. So I want to switch now to a hypothetical roster look in which I've added Cliff Omoruyi, Cade Tyson, and Adou Thiero. I didn't put Seth Trimble back in this chart yet. Just didn't. And we'll leave it at that for now. And I'm not insinuating anything by that at all. I'm just saying I haven't put that back in. So right now, if you added Omoruyi, Thiero, and Tyson, you would have used 11 of your 13 scholarships. And this looks like a great roster to me. I see us starting 5 in a multitude of ways. Like, this is a roster with options. I think I would go with Elliot Cadeau at the 1, RJ at the 2, Cade Tyson at 3, Adou Thiero at 4, and Omoruyi at 5. And I know not all of you would do that, and that's fine. I'm just saying that's what I would do if I was Coach Davis. But listen to what you would have coming off the bench. Jalen Withers, Jalen Washington, Zayden High, James Brown, Ian Jackson, and Drake Powell. You don't have another natural point guard in there, and so maybe that's somebody you need to go get, unless it's Seth Trimble back, and maybe he could run the second unit, or RJ shifts over to doing that, and Seth at the 2, whatever you want to do with it. But there's just so many personnel options in that grouping. So again, hear me say, while it seems stressful that there's all these players choosing other schools, if you could land these 3 guys or some other kind of combination, like even if you could get Tyson and Thiero and Aidoo instead of Omoruyi, that's fine too, because you don't necessarily need that 5 position to do everything, but both of those guys do some really cool stuff that would help the team. So there's possibilities, and we got to continue to look at those and how they might benefit Carolina. So that's where stuff sits right now with all of that. Now, there was lots of action all around Chapel Hill this weekend, including the spring football game, where we once again find ourselves locked in a quarterback battle, just like we were 2 summers ago, that may come right down to game week. We'll unpack that and the rest of the weekend action in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball is off to a hot start, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every one of those games. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. It's $150 win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to slam dunks and home runs, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. How about some early World Series odds? Dodgers plus 320, Braves at plus 480, Yankees at plus 700, O's and Astros tied at plus 1100. So what are you waiting for? Get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Carolina wrapped up their spring football action on Saturday. A couple things to note. Just surrounding the game, a couple things we'll say about the game, and then get into talking about the other great action that happened this weekend. The football game was not televised. Obviously, the open practice or the practice last Saturday was televised-ish. And it's still just odd. I know Coach Brown is trying to kind of protect things a little bit, and then that's fine and whatever, but it just would like to see it on TV. There's that. Denoris Searcy and I will record an episode kind of unpacking the game, his thoughts on it, and we'll do that this week and get it out to you. Reminder also that Coach Brown will be doing a press conference today, Monday at 1 Eastern time, so check that out. It'll be obviously all over YouTube once it's been filmed and gotten out there. And another thing to keep in mind is, for those who saw highlights or watched the action or heard about the action, there's just a whole bunch of dudes missing. Basically, Carolina's entire veteran receiving core. Kobe Paysour didn't play. J.J. Jones, no. Gavin Blackwell, no. Bryson Nesbitt, no. John Copenhaver, no. And I mean, that's your 5 main pass catching receivers, depending on what these young bucks do. And we'll get to them in a second. But also keep in mind, on the defensive side of the football, Kamen Rucker was out as well. Now, quarterback, let's start there, because just like 2 years ago when it was, the quarterback battle we had where we ultimately had Drake May beating out Jacoby Criswell, that's where we're at with this time too. Well, we find ourselves there again. Connor Harrell, young Mr. Johnson. I guess Max isn't really young, but these two guys kind of nodded in it. To me, Connor Harrell comes out of the spring game slightly ahead, but there is a lot of football to be played, and both looked good enough to be in strong contention. And keep in mind that obviously Connor Harrell knows the system better, and so should be farther ahead. We'll see how that looks come August. And you can't take too terribly much away from a spring game because you can't just consistently match the ones against the ones. You got to go the twos and all those kind of things. So just keep all that in mind. But the encouraging sign to me is that both of these guys leave the spring game seeming playable and ready to go. And with how long these seasons get, man, it's just, you're probably going to need them both at some point. So we got to be ready for that. Obviously we're watching, can the defense step up under new defensive coordinator Jeff Collins? Can they match what the offense has been doing? Well, the funny thing is, will we see the same offense we've seen the last, all of Mac Brown 2.0, I guess I should say, under Sam Howell and Drake May? Whether it's Connor Harrell or Max Johnson, we'll see. But can the defense step up? Coach Collins does have lots of vets coming in. Obviously, again, Kamen Record didn't play, but he should have him by the time games are rolling around. Des Evans on the outside, Stick Lane, Will Hardy, a couple others, Huzzy. I mean, some great pieces. Can it all come together finally? We will wait to see. Some encouraging signs from some of the young receivers, Jordan Shipp, Alex Taylor, Vari Green. Really excited to see what kind of role these guys can play this year, but they look like dudes. The question is, will they be ready? Have to keep developing. Running back, what's encouraging for me there, obviously you've got Omarion Hampton, who you don't want him playing much in the spring game because you don't want to risk getting him beat up. But I'm really encouraged to see Darwin Barlow and what he brings. Great addition coming over from USC. Already I thought Carolina has the best individual running back, at least in the conference. And maybe have the best 1-2 punch now with Barlow. We'll see if Caleb Hood can stay healthy, all that conversation that we always have to have. So more to come on the football team and game and takeaways from that with DeNoris, but I just wanted to give at least a couple thoughts about that. Now, again, multiple things happening this weekend around Carolina. Let me run us through some of it. Let's start with the baseball team who was at state this weekend. A little bit of a frustrating weekend on Thursday. It was a Thursday to Saturday instead of Friday to Sunday. The guys lose on a walk-off, bottom of the ninth, walk-off bomb and lose 8-9. It was a back and forth affair. Carolina battled back from 8-5 down to tie it in the eighth and then just couldn't get over the hump. Same thing happened Friday. Carolina, though, was the team with the lead, took a 4-1 lead in the bottom of the seventh, and then just like multiple pass balls, wild pitches. NC State takes the lead and 5-4 in the bottom of the eighth, and Carolina can't score in the ninth, and that's it, and that's all. Finally, on Saturday, Carolina exercises some demons, wins 14-3, still loses the series, but you like getting out of Raleigh with the win on Sunday. And for what it's worth, Vance Honeycutt becomes the first ever player in the ACC to have 50 career home runs and 70 career steals. Unreal stuff from Honeycutt, but as you expect it from him, you expect the unreal from Vance Honeycutt. Softball did win their weekend series. They hosted Louisville, lost Friday 1-2, but then won a doubleheader on Saturday 9-1 and 7-6. Came back from 6-0 down to win that nightcap. Wild stuff there. Great work from the ladies. One more weekend series, and then they have the ACC tournament. Women's tennis, this is the big news of the weekend. They are your ACC champions, beating Virginia in the final on Sunday. Clinched the doubles point against a really strong doubles trio from Virginia, and then won the whole thing in total 4-1. So Virginia was able to get 1 point, but Carolina was up 3-0, and it was all done and gone. What's really neat about that is en route to the ACC championship, which they didn't win last year. Remember, NC State knocked them off. Friday, Carolina started play in the quarterfinals, blanked Duke 4-0. Saturday, got some revenge against NC State, skunking them 4-0. And then Sunday, got some revenge against Virginia, beating them 4-1. Now, what's cool is Carolina only lost 3 times this regular season, twice to NC State, once to Virginia. So they avenged all 3 of those losses in winning this championship. So next up will be the NCAA regionals in a couple weeks. We'll keep our eyes out for that. Men's tennis team lost in the ACC quarterfinals to Duke, interestingly, 0-4. Now they await information about the next round. Men's golf is in the ACC Championship right now. It was stroke play Friday through Sunday. They exit that in first place. And then today, Monday, will be match play instead of stroke play. So semifinals and finals today. We'll see how the Tar Heels do. Make sure you check in on that. Could be back-to-back days of ACC championships for the Tar Heels. Women made it also to match play. They were in fourth after the 3 days of stroke play, lost on Sunday to Wake Forest in the semifinal. So unfortunate stuff there. Women's lacrosse beat number 25 Duke back on Thursday, 16-11. Next up is the ACC tournament coming this week. They're the 4 seed, play the 5th seed Virginia Thursday in the quarterfinals at 2 p.m. on ACC Network. Make sure you check that out. The men lost at Notre Dame, the men's lacrosse team 6-14. And so unfortunate work there. So all in all, a really good weekend in Tar Heels athletics. You love to see it. We'll keep tabs on all of it going forward. And obviously, all of this basketball roster turmoil and turnover and figuring out where things are at. I'll keep you up to date as news keeps rolling out. If there's big breaking stuff, I'll cut in at some point. If not, we'll just go to day as we always do. And you know that I'll be there for you. Folks, if you're not already subscribed to the show, you can do that easily on both video and audio platforms. Hey, in this season where breaking news could happen at any point, make sure you hit that bell on YouTube so that you get a notification when I go live. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community, the link for that is in the show notes. It's free to join. We'd love to have you. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be back with you tomorrow, but until then, peace.